Okay, thank you. This is Family Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Jon Paul Crimi. That's the right name.
That's right. Let's do
And
it.
let's do it. And welcome to the Family Electric Ghost podcast. We are a live interviewer. We're live on LinkedIn and YouTube at the moment. And we love to tell stories in this live format. Like you're a former sobriety coach turned breathwork, right?
Yep.
Pioneer is zero filter from rock bottom to mastery is the topic today. We're going to talk about your story. But before we get to the heart of your story, I always ask every guest a couple of questions before we start. What motivates you and why do you do what you do?
What motivates me is seeing people change, like watching, being a part of their transformation. I love it. It's the best feeling in the world that somebody can change their life, change the direction of their life, and then that you played a small part in that. You got to play a little role in that transformation, and to watch their life just blossom and grow. It fills me up inside. And
Mhm.
it's funny because I was always so selfish, and now I've learned that the way to be selfish is to help other people. Like fulfillment and purpose comes from helping other people. So for me to be my best self, I have to help someone else become their best self.
I think that's really cool because if anybody's been a teacher, like I'm a musician, I'm a producer, that's like a teaching role when you're with a young artist, you're trying to bring out the best in them, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to show them how to like take the benefits of what you do and pay it forward.
Yeah.
And try to like some people might not think that way. They might think like I gotta be like a drill sergeant and like tear somebody down and then build them up versus red mark somebody. I had a professor in college and the professor in English lit, they would come to you and tell you what the best thing about your work was. Right. And then eventually kind of slide in, oh, this is grammatically incorrect. This is versus like giving you red marks right off the bat, where like that might make you not want to come to class.
Yeah. Yeah. Positive feedback on the front end is key. Like, this is what you did great. These are all the things that were awesome that we can grow, that can grow. And this is your talent. This is your gift. And then here's a little piece that we need to work on. And
Yeah.
then again, positive feedback on the other end. It's called the feedback sandwich. So positive, the little information that you got to get in there that might be hard to hear, and then more positive information after that. And that's more, people can hear that better. If you come at them hard, they can't hear you. They shut down. They get defensive.
Yeah. That's like everybody thinks the drill sergeant thing is the way. Because
Yeah.
it's like, especially men, they might say, well, that's a macho way to do it. That's like the I'm being hard, six pack ab hard, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, why do I have to do that?
Yeah. You get more with honey than you do with salt, I think.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. So how did you discover breath work?
Well, it's a crazy story. So I was really good friends, really close friends with Matthew Perry, the actor from
Oh, wow.
Friends.
Mhm.
And he had gone to a session with a guy that was like a healer guy. Some girl had taken him there and he told me about it. And I said, that sounds like nonsense. And he goes, well, I bought you a session with the guy because I want you to experience it so we can talk about it, because you're my only friend who's like open-minded enough to try it. And I was like, all right, I'll go try it. And it was weird, and the session was weird, and the guy was like kind of new agey, woo-woo, right? But I had an experience that was undeniable. I felt different, like all this weird shit had happened.
Mhm.
And then I went down a rabbit hole the next day and started like looking at all the different breathwork things that are out there. Cause this is 15 years ago. There was no Wim Hof. There wasn't like, people weren't into wellness as much. And there wasn't podcasting where influencers were talking about how to, help yourself and relieve stress. None of that shit
Yeah.
existed back then. So I had to find like stuff, and it was really hard to find this breathwork stuff. And I started doing all these different breathwork techniques. And I'm going to be honest, I hated it, like the groups and the places and the people who were teaching it. Like they were so not like me. I'm from Boston. I'm from the South Shore of Boston, and I toured with punk rock bands, trying to keep these guys sober on the road. So
Yeah.
I'm not like a new agey spiritual
Not like
woo.
San Francisco, like hit
Yeah.
mastery.
Yeah. I'm not that kind of guy, but the experiences I was having were undeniable, and they were immediate, and they were amazing, and they were undeniable. So I just was like, this is incredible. And people started noticing the change in me. Other people started noticing that I was different. Like it was pretty obvious. they're like, what, are you medicated all of a sudden? You're happy, you're present, what's going on? And
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I'm doing this weird breathing thing. And they're like, what is it? And I go, I don't know, it's this technique I could show you. And they're like, show me. So I started doing it with my clients and friends, and they started having experiences. And then this woman asked me to do a class, and I said, all right. So I did a class, and Matthew Perry came to one of those first classes, and he's like, dude, this is your gift. Like, this is what you're supposed to do. I go, I don't want to do this. He goes, no, this is your gift. And so I finally embraced it. And I realized, people don't know about this because it's been kept in these new age woo-woo circles. People want to do stuff with people who are like them. Right.
Yeah. They
And,
want to go to their tribe,
yeah, someone you can relate to. So I thought, well, I don't think there's any East Coast edgy guy up here doing this breath work. So if I just was myself, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to be funny and edgy and raw, and I'm going to use cool music, because the music for me, like, I hated the music.
Too much like
tribal
ambient sound, or like
weird.
Weird
It was just, it was like tribal woo new agey music, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna use the Who, and I'm gonna use I'm gonna use Fleetwood Mac. I'm gonna use Fleetwood Mac and Coldplay or whatever I was into at the time. I'm gonna use music that I think is cool.
Resonate. Well, something, like, the thing of the key is, like, I'm a musician. I'm like, and I also am a techie. Like, I'm a software guy. So I hold a lot of hats, like a left, right brain. And I'm from like New England. I was born in Mass.
Oh, cool.
Went to school in Maine. I live in New Hampshire. So I get it. And I've always liked punk rock. Like, I love, like, like going back to the Clash and like Joy Division. Like, I'm like, I like anything that's like got an edge to it. I saw 9 Inch Nails at Woodstock, that first Woodstock where they were throwing mud at Green Day and all that. I saw that.
Yeah.
So I've always been like into that punk aesthetic. Or I've been into, I love the Who. I mean, I like the Stones, but I like the Who because they felt like it was like they were all falling apart, but they stayed together. Like,
the chaos.
They're all playing solo. They're all lead.
Yeah.
But they're all somehow able to be together, even though they're all playing lead.
Yeah. There's a lot of chaos in the Who, I think.
But that's super interesting about the idea of the breathwork. Because I'm a Nichiren Daishonin Buddhist, and I do a lot of chanting, and I lived in Japan for a couple of years, and I like the Tai Chi, and then like the Asian aesthetic, like the kind of mindfulness they have, and tying it to Tai Chi, tying it to like breath work, and in the way they do it from a Buddhist perspective. But like how did, because you were yourself, like, I think everybody's secret sauce is, if you are true to yourself, you're not trying to clone or copy somebody else. That resonates as like being authentic, right?
Yeah. Well, so first of all, my wife is half Japanese, so I love the culture. I've been to Japan a few times. I've been on tour, and I just did a breathwork retreat in Japan last April. So it's amazing. I got up there, and I was teaching at a meditation studio in Los Angeles, a couple of them actually. And it was funny because most of the teachers who were teaching there, this is not a knock on them, it's just how they taught, was that they'd come in and they go, "Hi, everybody. I know Mercury's in retrograde today." And I'd come in and I'd be like, "Gee, I just took the fucking 101 to the 405 to the 10 fucking freeway and almost choked somebody out in the parking lot over a space. But if you can sit your ass in the seat, I'm going to show you how to put gratitude and love in your heart. Come on, sit down, people. Let's fucking go." And people were like, "Who is this guy?"
Because you're authentically, like, you didn't try to fit into, like, the thing everybody tries to clone everybody.
They're teaching the idea of what they think a breathwork teacher should appear to be, like this idea of who they should be. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. I don't even want to be here. I want to be, on a TV show or a movie or on a rock tour. I'm here going to teach you this breathwork thing that helped me be less of an asshole. I know that's hard to believe because I seem like an asshole right now, but you should have seen what I was like before I did the breathwork. I was like homicidal. So it's been a big transformation, and I've chilled out a lot since those early days of breathwork. I've got a pretty serious meditation practice now. And, I do the float tank, the sensory deprivation tank. I do all the things, because what happened to me was, when I found this breathwork, it was so transformational. It was so massive that I went, what else is out there? Like, what other things have I not done that could change my life. And I went down this rabbit hole of trying all these different things. Some of them were so far out there, some of them were ridiculous, but some of them were amazing. And I changed my life and I started doing all these things. And then someone said to me once, they're like, they go, you're the bridge between like the East Coast guy, you know, who would never do this work, the stressed out housewife, and like the woo-woo stuff. Like you're the guy in between bringing that to people. And I'm like, I love that.
Well, it's always good to find that niche because everybody, like I said, is we're in this kind of, you know, ether space where everybody's trying to clone the cat video.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like where to me is like, I always been a kind of guy that like Velvet Underground appealed to me. Alex Chilton appealed to me. Joy Division appealed to, I was always going for the unsung hero. I'm always going for the guy who's coming out of left field, probably neurodivergent, a little weird, maybe a little off-putting.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I like it. I was the kind of guy that when Dylan went electric, I would have been saying, yeah, while everybody's saying you're a Judas.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yep. I'm the same. I've always been a little out there. When I was in Boston, you know, everybody was about sports around me growing up, and I was about music and, you know, movies and theater and all that kind of stuff. And a little odd for where I grew up. And I, you know, I just don't care. I'm into what I'm into. I like what I like. The heart wants what the heart wants. You know, what sounds good to me might not sound good to somebody else.
Well, you think it's the perfection trap. You know, I run into it with like a lot of artists today because like I come from, I'm child of the 70s.
Yeah.
I like to use like actually hardware. I like to record to like actual like analog tracking.
Okay.
Right? Not the DAW. And the problem you run into people is like they want to be in the dark and they want to be perfect.
Yeah.
Right. They want to go in, and I'm about like the Keith Richards happy accident being a little off time. Like I don't care if the mic is good. If you do a good performance, I'm not going to put you on a $10,000 mic if we got a good performance out of a Radio Shack mic. I don't care as long as it sounds good. Well, like it fits the emotion of the moment.
Yeah,
you know?
Perfection is boring. And like, you know, emotion. I was talking to my wife. I don't want to knock on this guy, but like, you know, I love Journey. I love Steve Perry, right? Steve Perry, I think, has the greatest voice in rock. Yeah. And we were considering going to the show, but it's got this other singer. And I'm like, listen, this guy's got a great voice. He's an amazing karaoke singer, which is where they found him. They found him doing karaoke, but he doesn't have the emotion coming from him like Steve Perry does.
He's not Steve.
Yeah. Well, nobody can be Steve Perry, but he doesn't have the emotion pouring out of his heart, because what comes from the heart goes to the heart. And that's where I'm different than all the other breathwork teachers. That's what I think is my special sauce, because when I teach my class, I actually allow myself to get really vulnerable in the class. And I'm saying things during the class. I'm saying like, listen, everybody wants somebody to show up and love them for who they are, the way they are, but we don't love ourselves for who we are, the way we are. We teach people how to love us. We show people how to love us by how we love ourselves, and how we love ourselves is how we do the work on ourselves. And so I start saying all this emotional shit, and I start to get emotional saying it, and people can hear it in my voice, and then they start to crack open during the class. And they let go, and they have this big emotional release. There's a saying that for my class, people say it's like 20 years of therapy without saying a word. And it's true. It really is true. And I'll tell you something I think you'll like. I have a close friend who I toured with a couple of times, and he was my first breathwork, like kind of student, first person I started trying on. This guy, John Feldman, who's a really well-known Grammy nominated music producer. He was just nominated to the last Grammys, and he's the singer for Goldfinger, like a punk rock.
Oh,
yeah. So John loves to use, I recorded some breathwork tracks in his studio a long time ago, and he loves to use those tracks when he works with new artists, because he said they come into the studio with all these ideas, and they're nervous, and they want to be perfect, and they want to get it right. And what the breathwork does is it relaxes everybody, and you let go.
Let it go.
Yeah, you let go of all the shit and all the worry and all the overthinking in your head, and you can get to the heart of things. It turns off that noise in your head and moves you into your heart, which is great for the creative process.
It's kind of like when you're like, if you're a jazz fusion like musician, right? And you get in the zone, right? And it's that zone to like Herbie Hancock and Miles Davis are playing, and Herbie hits the wrong chord, and Miles just adjusts and doesn't kill him for hitting the wrong note like James Brown. Doesn't give him a fine for hitting the wrong note. He actually says, okay, I'll actually evolve the song. where that's kind of like you don't care about the perfection. You're like, I'm in the moment. I'm actually gonna live in the moment.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful because like art is full of imperfection. The happy accidents are what makes most of the great art. Is
Yeah.
that you can have an intention, you did your 20,000 hours of mastery, but like if you get too analytical, you destroy the idea. If you go and do 102 takes of a song and really the first 4 takes are actually closer to the truth of what you were trying to do, but to get take to 102, you just destroyed the whole thing.
Yeah. You hear that a lot from artists like, "Oh, I wrote this song in 20 minutes," and it's like it was the biggest hit they ever had. It was just something that just came out of them spontaneously.
Yeah, that ends up being more true because like you spend so much time trying to perfect it. And I can get it if you're just trying to make things perfect, but it's a dangerous kind of place to go. And it tends I think, because I think you end up editing what is really it from the heart and the soul, and art is really heart, soul,
Yeah.
spirit.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
get too technical, you like lose the narrative.
Yeah, it sounds like you're listening to a computer. I had the fortunate experience. I used to train Brian Auger from Brian Auger's Oblivion Express. He's the Hammond B3 legend. He's in the Music Almanac for fusing jazz and rock together, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
Brian, I got to train him a couple times a week for a long time, and he's just an amazing human being. His stories were the best stories I'd ever heard. Playing with Jimi Hendrix and Paul McCartney, and
Oh yeah, he's a great. I know who he is. Yeah,
yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, great guy.
that's all. You've been around a lot of cool people. So being in that space with those types of artists, are there like lessons learned that you've gotten from like having those experiences with those people?
Yeah, of course. I've gotten to meet so many great people over the years, and it kind of it opens your mind up to think like, oh, in a way they're incredibly talented, and at the same time they're just a human being, right?
Mhm.
Like we put people on this pedestal of like greatness, and then we think we can never achieve it
Never be
ourselves.
there. Yeah, you never can
we're,
be there.
we're never going to get there. But when you meet them, you're like, oh, this is just a person who worked really hard on their craft and like was willing to try some things differently and open themselves up. And I have some great stories. I got to sit in a living room with Justin Bieber one time and watch him play the piano, and it was just me and him in the living room. And I go, "Are you playing Let It Be? Because that's like one of my favorite songs." He's like, "Oh, it is." And he starts singing Let It Be, and I was just like, I'm literally watching Justin Bieber play Let It Be in his piano. And then Selena came in and she started singing. And I was like, this is the craziest
Yeah,
life.
that's the kind of moments you want. Those kind of behind the scenes, like
Yeah.
behind the music type of stuff. But
Yeah.
that's like when artists are vulnerable. That's what people want to see. Because like a lot of times they spend all this time creating this perfect image, or
Yeah.
this like this other self.
Well,
When a
and
lot of people actually want to see like what is actually like. That's why like people like punk rock,
yeah.
like Joe Strummer, because it's like he had heart. He didn't have pitch, but he went and said it because that's what he felt, right? And
Yeah.
you always get like a Paul Westerberg with the replacement. You get that kind of like Bob Mould with Hoots to Do. You get this kind of like I'm gonna just go out there, Grant Hart, and I'm just gonna do it. Like
Yeah.
and it feels real. And then Hoots to Do is just like they did a whole album in like 48 hours, like Zen Arcade, and it's like and that's a 5-star record, and they didn't obsess about
Yeah.
making it perfect.
Yeah.
That to me is like that's hard to get people today. If you tell a kid about that today and they're in the dark, it's like, how could you do that? Like
Yeah.
your clock's off, this is off. It's like they're all like so obsessed
Well,
about the perfection.
I think those people who can play from their heart, who can create from their heart, are going to stand out even more in a world of electronic, computerized, overthinking perfection. If can what comes from the heart goes to the heart. So if you can start to create from there, I think you're going to stand out.
Yeah, I think definitely because we got this AI trap now where everybody thinks because they're a prompt engineer,
Yeah.
they're an artist. Like it's like my daughter's an actual real graphic artist, and she's always having to, she's got clients and she does a lot of cool work. But they got some people who come to her and say, "Well, can't you just prompt engineer that?" And it's like, I'm a graphic artist. I'm not prompt engineering anything.
Right. Right.
Why are you even talking to me? Like,
Yeah.
like I do like hand drawn watercolors, pastels. Why would I prompt engineer? Why
Yeah.
would I do that?
Yeah, that's not what I do. My sister's an artist, but my father's an artist as well. So I grew up in a home full of artists.
Yeah. I just think sometimes people don't get it. I talked to this one tech bro one time, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna replace all the artists with AI, like tokens." And I'm like, "Really? You really think that?
Yeah, I don't think that's
You
going to
really
happen.
believe that?" I
Yeah,
can see why you want to do it because that's a profit for you, but I don't think anybody wants to buy that.
no, not now anyways. We'll see later down the road, but I think that we're going to go through some changes for sure with this AI stuff, and I don't think a lot of it's going to be for the better. I think some of it's going to be cool, but I think a lot of it's going to be not cool, and then we'll adapt and we'll see what happens out of that.
I see it like a tool because like, think about it like you think about samplers. People would just sample stuff, and then they had to go and clear the sample. When the first sampler got ahead of copyright law, so people had a sampler, their MPC, they'd sample stuff, they didn't clear it. So
Yeah,
then suddenly they get hit with a lawsuit. Like AI is that on steroids. It
yeah,
can go and it's like the massive sampler, but it's actually like it can actually go and generative AI creates like this collage that it looks like it's better than this it looks better than the crappy collage, but it's still crappy.
yeah,
So it's like it's convincing, but then people can tell it has no heart, it has no soul. It might look on its surface like it's junk food work to me. It's like you can grab it real quick. It's like there's a day you go to the food truck and there's a day you go to the franchise. If
yeah,
you really know what you want, you go to the food truck. If you're cut for time, you might just go to the franchise and get some cheap little thing.
yeah. Yeah, we're good. I just think, we're not going to be able to replicate everything with AI. And so thank God, you
Yeah, I
know.
hope. Yeah, I just think human beings have a purpose.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that we have that spirit and we all can interpret something, right? Your influences plus your own insights. So when Stevie Ray Vaughan plays Voodoo Child, it's not the same as what Hendrix did because Hendrix created it. But the Stevie Ray Vaughan version, that's Texas blues version.
Yeah.
Hendrix is cosmic, psychedelic, Native American inspired mysticism, right? It's weird. And also like, African mysticism. So it's all this other stuff. And they
Sure.
both can sit there and say, what's the same song? But it's not.
Yeah. And not everybody's cup of tea. I've had people come to my classes. I do classes online on Zoom on Sunday mornings, right? And I do, it's 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time. And I've been doing these classes for 7 years now. I was doing them long before the pandemic. And other breathwork teachers, the old school guard of the breathwork, was like, you can't do this online. It's not safe. I'm like, I think it's safer online than it is in a class. You don't have to drive afterwards. You don't have somebody there who might be inappropriate, whatever.
That's
You don't
like
have, you don't have,
stalkers.
yeah, you don't have people, getting distracted by other people around them that are having, huge emotional releases. So I started doing it online before anyone else. I was the first guy to bring this breathwork online. And then when the shutdown happened, when COVID happened, all those people who told me I shouldn't do it online they all went online. And I go, wait, I thought you couldn't do this online. What happened? Right? Like, they all had to go online, and they were like, well, how do you do it online? And I'm like, this is how I do it. And so I had been doing it online. And it was funny because some woman came to my class at one point, and I guess she was a breathwork teacher too. And she started like, in the chat of the Zoom, you're talking too much. You're too loud. I don't like it. This isn't how it's done. And I was like, just log off. You don't have to do my class. Like, I'm not your flavor. I'm not for you. I can't, like, just because you have a fucking keyboard in front of you doesn't mean we're collaborating here.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm doing my thing. You would never walk up to a yoga teacher in the middle of a yoga class and be like, this isn't correct,
Oh, yeah.
But for
Yeah,
some
that's
reason, when
like
people have a keyboard in front of them, they think, you don't tell another artist like that's not the way you play this song in the middle of their set. It just doesn't go like
yeah, it's
that.
like in the middle of the set, you're saying you're in the wrong key, like you're not you got the wrong you're not the right BPM. It's like the DJ is gonna do whatever BPM they feel like doing.
Yeah.
Like, it's like
I,
it doesn't really matter what you want.
I'm going to be the breathwork teacher for people who like my vibe. Maybe some people who would never do this work or need the
Yeah.
push, need the motivation. They want somebody telling them, like, listen, you've done harder shit in your life than lay on the floor and breathe. It's not that hard. Don't let your mind trick you, right?
And no
And
one's obligated to match somebody else's vibe. It's kind of like the law of attraction. You
yeah,
get you get pulled to who you are vibing with. If you
yeah,
don't vibe, don't get into an argument about it. Just leave.
yeah. I'm not your person. Like, it's so wild. It's like, yeah, people just, they do wild stuff
It's
nowadays.
interesting, like on the net, because they have some separation. They do something they would never do in real life, like you said. No one ever go in right in the middle of the lecture, interrupt the person giving the TED talk and say, "Oh, you're doing it all wrong." It's like,
Yeah.
really?
I think Mike Tyson said it best when he said people have become too comfortable disrespecting other people online behind a keyboard, like saying things they would never say to their face. And
Yeah, there's no way that you would ever do that and walk up to somebody and do what you're doing online.
yeah,
It's just so crazy. Because even on podcasts, we have these comment things, and I had to turn it off because you get these people coming in trying to tell you something. Like, I'm doing an interview. I'm not reading anything you're saying.
yeah.
Like, so I just turned it
I'm
off.
here in the moment with this
I
other
don't need
person.
I don't need to see anything you're saying. Just like, because
Yeah,
that's not what I'm talking about. It's not a call-in show. I'm not doing a call-in show.
yeah.
I'm doing an interview show. Um, so it's interesting. What do you think most people get wrong about breath work?
Well, the first thing is that breathwork is an umbrella term, right? It's like saying fitness, or you're saying, like, if you said, I do music, people be like, okay, you do music. What kind of music do you do, Phantom? You know what I mean? Like, tell me
Yeah,
what
yeah. Tell me what
there's like, that's so broad. Like, you can't say that. So breathwork is the same way. It's like, I do breathwork. Well, what do you do? Like, do you do box breathing? Do you do this, breath holds? Do you do this? And I know all the different techniques, but there's one main technique that I like to focus on, that I like to teach. It's called circular breath work. It's also called conscious connected breathing. And it's an intense technique. It's 30 minutes of breathing in this intense way in order to clear out stress,
Mhm.
anxiety, depression. It's really good for grief, right? So it's good for all these emotions that people have. One of the things I like to say is, like, you have a breathing pattern for stress. You have a breathing pattern for anxiety, for depression, for grief. People don't even realize a lot of the time they're walking around breathing really shallow and holding their breath all the time. And the reason for that is because when you start to breathe deep down in your belly, your emotions are there. And people don't want to feel those emotions. They don't want to allow those emotions to be felt. But
Oh,
the feeling requires to be felt. Otherwise, it will come forth in uglier ways. It'll come
yeah, or
out
just metastasize and like exponentially become like a blow up moment.
yeah. If you've ever been told by people you're overreacting, you hear that a lot. You're
Yeah, it's
overreacting.
like the road rage moment.
Yeah, that's stuff inside of you that you haven't dealt with, right? If you're overreacting to a situation, to a thing that's going on, that's all this unexpressed emotion that you haven't dealt with. So the type of breath work I teach deals with that. It clears that stuff out. That's where the saying for my classes, that felt like 20 years of therapy without saying a word, because people often have these huge emotional releases that they didn't expect. And
Mhm.
sort of like the more pent up you are, the more like tough guy you are, the bigger the release. I did a class last night here in Bend, Oregon, where I live. And I had a guy come up to me afterwards, and he was like the leader of the SWAT team. And he was like, that was one of the most incredible things I've ever experienced. We have to do this for the SWAT team, but we need to do a private class, for the SWAT team. I'm like, even better, than we should probably do it online for the guys,
Yeah,
so they can be in their home, in their safe space. So they're not worried about their, coworker beside them hearing them have a breakdown because they
yeah,
had to, you know,
yeah.
some trauma that they had to
The
deal with on
safe
the
thing,
job.
because you mentioned like it might be more safe online.
For some people it is. Some
Yeah.
people I had that vision that it would be safer for some people online. Like, they're in their safe space. And I had that. I was the first guy to put this online. And I just knew that it would be that way. And COVID made it happen for
Yeah.
me, you
That's
know?
that's yeah, because I started doing this in 2016, and it went video in 2020, and then I was kinda like all these people, like, were thinking that you had to have, like, live like, go into a studio and have somebody, like, physically there, like a Joe Rogan type of thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, if people can do that, but you don't have to do that,
No.
right? And you can actually I can talk to somebody in Australia, I can talk to somebody in, like, Nigeria. I mean, I talk to people all over the world because the tech lets me do it. So
Yeah.
it's an advantage, so I can talk to as many people as I want to.
Yeah. We're
Uh,
using the tech. The tech's not using us.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking advantage of the fact that I can use this where, back in 2016, you had problems with like trying to talk to people even on a voice level in a foreign country would have problems. And now it's like the technology is just exponentially giving you like TV level video, 4K video, and all this really good audio if you do it right. And you take advantage of the tools that you have. And he's like, yeah, being in person's cool. I'm a musician, I know. Like, yeah, being in front of a crowd in a club, there's nothing like playing and getting that feedback. Like sometimes you want that feedback. But in other cases, like maybe that feedback is going to be a problem because everybody kind of wants people keep things pent up because they're trying to be safe, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to keep the virtual wolf at the door, right? They're all trying to keep that. They're still running away from the wolf, you know.
It doesn't work that way though. Like you can't, everybody wants the joy and the gratitude and the love and all the beautiful emotions, and they don't want to feel all the negative emotions. They don't want to feel sadness and disappointment and grief. It doesn't work that way. You can't shut your heart off from the sadness and the disappointment and the grief and open it up to gratitude and love and joy. You have to decide, what do you want, because if you're going to close it off, you close it off to everything.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. Well, you have to kind of remap it. Creative people, we usually go get a very cathartic experience. If it's singer songwriters, we always dive into our like dark moments or melancholy moments or the sad thing, right?
Yeah.
The sad thing usually has more impact. Like James Taylor, when he went, I seen Fire MC Rain.
Yeah.
He was going through like the worst period of his life, right? He expressed that in a very cathartic way when he was happy, and he did this double album when he was happy.
Yeah.
And
do you know the story behind Fire and Rain?
Yeah, I know. I was seeing a documentary, but when he did a happy album, nobody bought it.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, he was in love with this girl that left rehab. He fell in love with a girl in rehab, right? That's the story. And Matthew Perry was a huge James Taylor fan. He had a letter from James Taylor that he showed me. Yeah, and we talked about this
a couple times. Yeah, that's a deep story. But I always felt like it's very cathartic. Like, and if you've been somebody that's been told by your parents or your grandparents, that's shameful. Keep it down. Don't talk about that. Push down. Say like suck it up. And so there's a whole generation. My pop's generation, my grandpa generation. They were taught like grandpa was a coal miner. He's like, well, I don't talk about anything.
Yeah.
I don't talk about anything.
Well, here's what, let's dive into that for a second. When you don't talk about anything, where does that go? Because it has to go somewhere. So you have to stuff it down, usually with drinking or drugs or food or some other thing. You have to self-medicate and stuff all that shit down. It needs somewhere to go. You can't just bottle it up because it's going to affect your health. I mean, that's the truth of it. It's going to affect you in some way that's not going to be good, that you're not going to like. I have alopecia. I lost all my hair, right? And that's brought on by stress, by trauma. And so I always tell people, like, if you don't think your emotions can affect your health, then go find my hair, go find my eyebrows. So God, it all fell out like in my 20s because of this, alopecia, which is an emotional, which is a physical manifestation of an emotional problem, right? And so we know that stress causes heart attacks and cancer and all these different negative things. So you're going to get these health problems if you're not willing to work on yourself and allow the emotions to be dealt with.
Yeah, because people, a lot of times, I think words don't matter. Words are very impactful. They don't want to think about like the spirit, the soul, the heart. You get this like example. I work with a lot of actuaries, a lot of people like STEM type of people. I come in software, but like a lot of times it's like the artist. If you go talk to guys like Apple, there's a lot of artist driven people like at Apple versus like Microsoft.
Right.
So they kind of like looking for the people who are neurodivergent, have this other idea versus the other guy saying, well, just make it logical. And I think it's like this, if you don't think that the softer things are important, that the things that are maybe more on the outer limits of the bell curve.
Yeah.
Like those things outside on the outer limits of the bell curve. Everybody actually says they want that, but then they put you in a box and make you work 9 to 5.
I mean, Steve Jobs figured that out. There were other, better MP3 players than the iPod, when it came out. There were other ones that were better. But he figured out, like, let's make this a aesthetically pleasing design
Yeah,
and make it cool. And like he
it's
appealed to
art.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah, he appealed to people through art, right? Through their emotions, through what they feel. Not like, hey, this one holds the most songs.
yeah, that's the problem. You get the actuaries on the spreadsheet and said this is 99% better, but it looks like crap, right?
Yeah,
So
the tech
like,
specs.
if you actually make the facade better, people will buy the one that's not as well built.
Yeah.
So you just the problem with the STEM kind of actuary mindset, they're just looking for the number. The number doesn't always equate with human emotion. Doesn't always get pulled by that number. Unless you're a stockbroker, investment
Yeah,
banker, they're getting pulled by the number. But
sure. Well, even that stuff, I do some of that stock stuff, and it's like it's an emotional moment too. When you're investing, you have this gut feeling that this is going to go this way or this is going to go that way, right? There, you can look at all the trends and everything and where it's going, but
you got
ultimately you have to, you have to decide with your gut.
yeah, because there's always all these different paths and like which algorithm's right. So you got to make that gut choice, and it's kind of based on like what are you feeling?
Yeah,
You
you're
know,
using your intuition, which is an part of our animalistic emotion. We have this intuition. Animals have intuition, right? They
yeah,
they can sense before an earthquake is coming or some sort of
yeah.
storm. Or
They pick up all these like their other senses that aren't so apparent.
yeah, we have that too. We have that intuition too. We've just dumbed it down a lot.
We kind of said that we can't the logical mind, like the Western mind. When we started getting to this analytical mind,
Yeah.
we started thinking like algorithms and
Well,
equations and yes, no, 0, 1. That
there's
it
a
can only be in
thing
those.
There's this thing that happens during the breath work that I teach. It's called transient hypofrontality. Part of the prefrontal cortex of your brain shuts down in this incredible way. It's the area of your brain where the critic lives, where the ego lives, right? So you literally breathe in this way intensely and you start throwing off CO2, and it starts to put you into your kind of like a fight or flight state in a good way, in a positive way, to clear out the stress and the trauma and all these things. But it also turns off the part of your brain that's overthinking all the time.
Overthink, yeah, that's the
Yeah.
worst part. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
That's every artist has to make a choice. Like I was talking to like an author, and they go and they create their world building. They do the character design. They got the whole thing laid out, like what the storyline, the plot line. But every writer I've talked to says, like, I go into a stream of consciousness kind of download from the universe at some points to actually flush this out. And if it's actually better when I come up with a stream of consciousness, I throw away the plan,
Yeah.
right? Because like, yeah, you have a plan, but like I can override the plan if my download from the universe is better.
Yep. Yeah, you're getting into that flow state where you're not overthinking, you're not thinking about it. You're in the flow, you're in the state, you're doing the thing, right? Whatever that is. That's what like some of this breath work can do, is it can turn off that analytical part of the brain and get into the flow state. I like to say you're operating from your heart, because you can make decisions and choices from your heart.
Yeah.
Right? And you can make them from your head. You can overanalyze the shit out of this thing. Like, oh, should I do this or should I do that? Or should I? And become these two lawyers fighting the case in your head. But
Mhm.
when you turn all that off and you just go, what is my heart saying here? What does my
Yeah.
heart want in this moment for this decision? That's a different place. That's a whole nother operating system that you get to make decisions and choices from.
You feel breath work gets you closer to being able to access to that.
Yes, I don't feel it. I know it.
You know,
I've experienced it, and I've done this with hundreds of thousands of people over the last 15 years, and I've watched it, And I used to do private sessions all the time. I don't really do them that much anymore, but I would hear people come in and I go, "Okay, what's the problem?" And they go, "Oh, a woman's there. She's got she's got this guy she's dating, and I don't know if I should be in this relationship with this guy." And I go, "All right, 5 minutes, go ahead." And they're like pleading both sides of the case of the relationship. And then I go, okay, let's just do the breath work and see what the clarity brings there for the relationship. And they sit up and they're like, yeah, he's not the right person for me. Because
mhm,
that's what their heart is telling them. Once they turn off all the noise in their head, they're going from their heart. And then a couple days later, the head will turn back on, and your brain's job is to protect you. So it thinks its job is to protect you. It's going to scare you. It's going to go, well, you don't want to get back out there in the dating world. You don't want to go back on those apps and start dating people again. And so
Yeah,
the fear kicks in, right? And the
yeah,
fear
you
is,
get stuck in
yeah,
the well, we get like the bad loop.
yeah.
You
So
get put into the bad loop, right?
you can turn that fear off with the breath work again and get back into your heart and be like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine with the way I am. I'm fine on my own if that's what it's supposed to be, So it really does turn off that fear and move you into your heart, but also into that creative place where you're not like giving a shit what other people think. The biggest regret people have at the end of their life is that they wish they didn't live so much for other people. They wish they
Yeah,
didn't live their life for other people. Well, what is that? That's your fear. That's like old stories. That's programming from your childhood of something your parents said or did, right? Or
yeah,
someone else. And so when you can turn all that programming, all that fear, all that noise off, and you can start making those choices from your heart, what you really want, what are you going to do? What are you going to create? Who are you going to be?
yeah. I think it's like you gotta, like I'm a software guy, so we know how to initialize the database or what we call structural change. Like, so if we take our data set and we say we're actually going to change the whole structure, brand new table, like totally not like a non-structural change would be add a new column to an existing table. Structural change is we actually have a totally different table, right, that we never had before, which has a whole different data set. And sometimes like people don't want to do the structural change because it's going to take a lot of work. It's a lot of work to do that structural change. It's going to change the downstream and the upstream. It's going to be disruptive. Everybody wants to go and slide into the non-structural change or ease into it. And sometimes you actually need to make a radical change.
Yeah.
Sometimes it has to be a disruption. And that's like it doesn't make you feel safe. Because
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know if I can do that at 100%. I know I can do what I did yesterday 100%. I know I can hit the target. But if I change the target, I don't know if I can hit the target.
Yeah. But that's it. I mean, that's if you want growth, if you want to change, if you really want to go after some things in your life, if you want to be the best version of yourself, if people have so many gifts and skills and abilities inside of them that they haven't even tapped into yet because they let the fear stop them, right? Or because they let the work stop them. That's going to be too hard. That's going to be too much work. Well, no, it's not. It's in your head that it's too much work. When you actually sit down and do it, yeah, it's work. But the stories that we create that block us from doing these things are much worse than actually doing the thing.
Yeah. I mean, if you obsess about how much work it is and then never actually go and do it, like I've seen musicians like, I really want to write that song, but then I got to go to the studio. I got to unpack my guitar. I got to plug it in. I got to go do this. It's like, why don't you just do it?
Yeah.
Instead of sitting there talking about it, you can talk about for 3 hours about how hard it is, or you can actually go and write the song.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're letting their fears talk them out of it because they're just afraid it won't be good. That's the truth of it.
Yeah, it's just you gotta be willing to throw it at the wall,
Yeah.
and when you throw it at the wall, of course, there's gonna be a hater. Like when Hendrix first did feedback, the engineers told him you can't do that. You can't have that on the record. And then he's like, no, the feedback's gonna stay on the record. And he got an engineer that didn't tell him he couldn't have it. Right? He kind of forced the point. And that when you're an innovator, you're a disruptor, you don't care what the canon said. The
Yeah.
canon said this, but I'm going here. It's like when Miles Davis went to Fusion. All the people thought he was a brilliant bebop musician he is. When he went into Fusion, people was like, well, that's not jazz.
Yeah.
He's like, well, it is. It's
You
just you
have
just
to
don't
you
you
have to
don't
be
get it.
willing to go against the grain and do what people tell you isn't right. I mean, that's what I did with Breathwork online. I have all these courses online and I teach other people how to teach it. So I'm creating other people out there who learn from me and then
Oh,
they
you're
go,
training.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I certify people. So they learn from me and then they go out and help other people because
Oh, that's part of what you
I
do.
I can only help people, so many people, and my goal is to change as many lives as I can on this planet. So in order to do that, I have to train other people how to do it, right?
Oh,
And so I have these teacher training courses online. I do it online. I do it in person as well. I do both. But again, people push back against it. Oh, you can't teach this online. I'm like, watch me. I'm gonna do it. Like, I'm gonna do it just like I did my class online. I'm gonna do my trainings online, and the trainings online are amazing. And people, I've had people all over the world. I have students in London and in Brazil and Switzerland, everywhere, you name it. They learned this from me, and now they're helping people in other countries do
Well,
this.
that's cool because you just didn't. Some people get so into the ego, it's like only I can do it, and you went beyond that because like
No,
some people want it. It's like, well, I really don't want to give my secret sauce
no,
because like,
I give everything in my trainings. People are like, wow, you really, that have been to other trainings, like, do you give it all away? I'm like, yeah, I learned, I think it's a recovery thing. You got to give it away to keep it. And so I give it all away, and no one's ever going to be me. But like some students, I've had students who come to my class who originally went to one of my students and fell in love with my student in the breathwork. And then they came to my class, hated me, but loved my student. Like, that's fine with me. Like, I don't have a problem with that. Like, I think that's great. Like, I have a voice, and my students are like, some students come to me and they go, well, why would someone take this with me when they can take it with you? I'm like, because you have your unique voice. You're going to attract your people
yeah,
to
yeah,
you.
that's the secret sauce I was talking about. Like the
Yeah,
difference between Hendrix doing Voodoo Child and
exactly.
Stevie Ray doing Voodoo Child. Different people it appeals to. It's the same song,
Yeah.
but there is a whole group of people that think Stevie Ray's version is better. There's a group of people that think Hendrix's version is better. That's fine.
Listen,
They
we were
both can exist.
we were talking about Fire and Rain earlier, and I played Fire and Rain in my class last night, but I didn't play James Taylor's version. I played Birdie's version. And
Oh,
so I sometimes, and I'm not saying that Birdie's version is better. It's not, but it's different. I like covers in my class that are done incredibly well, right?
yeah.
My one of the peak songs in my class at the end after the breath work, we let out this massive yell, was Heroes but it was by Peter Gabriel, not
Oh, his
by
version, not by Bowie, not the Bowie
yeah,
version.
I think the Peter Gabriel version of Heroes is better than the Bowie version. For what I do, especially. It's
Yeah,
like
maybe yeah, for your context, it's like that's why it's cool that these things can exist. Because
yes.
it's except when you get these people try to do note for note covers.
Yeah,
To
yeah,
me,
no.
I'm looking for somebody to actually put their spin on it.
Yeah.
If I wanted to hear you do it note for note, I'll listen to the original.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I do a lot of covers, amazing covers in my class. I just think they're amazing. And so that's something I've brought in. But it's like I love training other people. So I do these trainings where people learn from me, and then I watch them go out and they change lives. And then they email me back and they're like, "Oh my God, I did a class last night and these people had this incredible experience and changed all their lives." It's the most fulfilling thing I've ever done. It's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I was saying in the training. Like, this work, yes, people will pay you to do it, but that's not the goal. The goal is to change someone's life. The goal is to transform someone's life. And then a byproduct is people will pay you. Okay. That's
Yeah.
not the purpose. Like, when you're a musician, the goal isn't to make music. The goal is to make great songs that people love, that move people,
Yeah,
right? I want to move people, and I want to be moved myself in the
yeah,
process. That's
yeah.
the goal, right? And so, great. They're going to pay me for it. Amazing. Even better. That's just a bonus.
Yeah, every musician I know, they don't just do it for the fame. They're gonna write whether the song is a hit or not.
Yeah.
They write, and then some stuff doesn't appeal because like sometimes you're ahead of the curve,
I
right?
always think if you're writing a song to try and make a hit, it's going to be garbage.
Yeah, well, yeah, because there's a whole industry that tries to do that. Versus like I was always listening to Frank Zappa, and he was going around talking about like the perils of the music industry,
Yeah.
and like he didn't care. He purposely kind of sabotaged some of his songs from being popular because he didn't want them to be popular. He specifically put crazy lyrics into things that have amazing guitar work, amazing musicianship, just because he was like, I don't want this to be a top 20 hit.
Yeah.
I
I
want
don't
this.
want,
I don't care about that.
yeah. I don't want to appeal to everyone.
Yeah, he just wasn't in that. It's like, I am appealing to my sensibility, and if
Yeah.
people dig it, and I want to put this out in the world because this is the way I see my vision.
Yeah.
And if you line up with the vision, fine. If you don't, fine.
I have some of that in me too, I think, where I'm like, I'll swear, I'll say this, I'll be pretty aggressive with my opinions, and people will be like, wow, you can't say that. And I'm like, I just did. Like, I just said it. I don't care. Like, especially in my trainings, I'm like, I don't give a shit what people think about me. And maybe I'm gonna get canceled. I don't know, but I'm gonna get canceled on my terms. Like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna do what I want to do with my class and with my trainings and different stuff, and that's not gonna appeal to everybody. And
yeah, it's not supposed to.
but
I
it's
think
going to appeal to the right people who like, and that's why people have come to my trainings in the past and they didn't like go do my class online or in person. And then they're like shocked. And I'm like, well, this is your fault. This isn't my fault. Like, you should have come to a class or a thing. So now it's a prerequisite. Like, you have to do one of my classes online or in person before you can come to my training, because you have to know who I
what you're
am. And
about. Yeah,
yeah,
what you're
because
about.
you have a lot of people have this preconceived idea of what a breathwork teacher is going to
Oh,
be
so
and who they're going.
that could be totally on. Like,
Yeah, they
ooh,
thought I was going to be
ooh.
like the Dalai fucking Lama or some super
Yeah,
spiritual guy.
yeah, you
Just
gotta
like,
freak them out. They gotta freak
yeah,
out. They have a freak out, major freak out.
yeah, yeah. And I'm like, why the fuck are you late when the thing said, do not be late? You're 20 minutes late.
Oh yeah,
Like
it
you're
is.
disrespecting the whole room and everybody here who spent a bunch of money to be here. You're disrespecting the whole room. And someone else is like, are you shaming them right now? And I'm like, excuse me? What the fuck are you talking about? Am I shaming them? That's a grown adult over there. And I'm trying to find out why they're late. And there's messing this up for everyone else here. That's disrespectful. I'm not shaming them. Like, it's like you can't say anything to people anymore. It's
No, it is
ridiculous.
like, yeah, the problem is like we got, oh no, it's like the nanny squad, but that my point is like the disrespect, because like you write clear instructions
Yeah.
and people don't read them.
Yeah. 100%.
You know, my daughter is like a disability advocate because she's disabled and she has these contests, and she specifically says like these are the criteria, and then she gets people coming into the contest that don't meet the criteria at all, and it's like, why did you apply?
Yeah.
And it's like people just like want, well, maybe they'll blow by the rules for me.
Yeah.
Like everybody just thinks they're going to get an exception or they don't read it. Or I
Yeah.
don't know what the problem is, but
This doesn't apply to me. I'm special. And because I think I'm special, everyone else around me has to adapt to my specialness.
yeah. And I'm like, really? Like when did that start happening? Because like it's like you got to meet the criteria, and everybody's gonna win like the prize. Like
Yeah.
somebody it did good and somebody didn't. Right?
Yeah.
You're not getting a prize just because you showed up.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's the trophy generation, right? Everyone gets a trophy, and I don't really go for that. I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and it's like either you win or you learn. You
Yeah.
win, you learn,
Well, you
right?
have to make mistakes to grow, and if everybody's saying
Yeah.
you never made a mistake, then how are you gonna grow?
I learned more from the matches that I lost. I used to compete a lot, and
Yeah,
I would learn more. Like when I won, I just went out there and did what I was good at. I beat the guy, I took him down, I choked him,
mhm,
whatever. I did my thing, right? But when I lost, it was like, oh, I made this mistake, and then that led to this mistake, and then that led here. So let me see if I can correct that and get better. I don't grow from just doing good and winning. I grow from losing.
yeah,
I grow from getting it wrong, like, and
yeah.
figuring out how to fix that and grow. And that's how I grow.
Well, it's like I remember I guess this point, there was this like a tech bro or somebody that said that they don't need introspection, right? They don't need to have the looking glass self. They don't need any of that. That's all woke or something. Okay. Yeah, yeah, we have lessons learned. We have to know what we did wrong with that last software release, and what we didn't know yesterday, now we know today. We're going to incrementally fix it, right?
Yeah.
But if we said, "Well, we're perfect. We never made a mistake. We're not going to change it." We meant to do that.
Yeah.
Really? We really meant to do that? I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Well, it's like I look at failure as a good thing. And it's all in how you frame it. You can look at failure as data. Okay, I failed. I had this class, and that was in Santa Monica, and it was incredible, and it was sold out, and people were begging to get in the class. And then I tried to do one in Malibu, it was 25 minutes away, and it didn't work. Like nobody was showing up. And I was like, okay, why is this one sold out and working, and this one nobody's showing up to? I can't figure. So I
Yeah.
have to figure out that
Yeah,
that's
figure out you
data.
need to kind of do the detective work,
Yeah.
and kind of like that's what we do in software is like, why do we have these bugs?
Yeah.
What's the root cause analysis? like what's the business case, what's the use case, like why is that so we have to have analytical thinking and actually trace it back, traceability. And if you actually take that with your life, it's like
Yeah.
why do I keep on doing this? If I move to the next town, I keep on doing the same thing, so it's not moving to the town that's going to fix it,
Well,
right?
yeah,
It's
it's
something else.
relationships. People don't apply that logic to relationships, right? They keep getting in a relationship and they're like, "Oh, I keep meeting jerks. I keep meeting jerks." It's like, "Well, you're the common denominator between all these jerks, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You're the one who's met all these jerks and has gotten in relationships with all these jerks. Maybe it's you,
yeah. It's not
right?
the jerk. It's like you.
Maybe there's something inside of you that keeps picking jerks. Like you keep painting red flags white, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's always
let's
like yeah, it's that looking glass self-examination. Do you take a step back, think about what you do. Like like I was talking to this person, we were talking about linguistics, and it's like, okay, like when people talk, they have a filter. As soon as they hear some keyword, it jumps on the filter, and they really didn't hear anything that person said.
yeah.
It just goes right to this filter. And so if you actually step back and say, like, I heard this, what did you actually mean?
Hmm.
How many people actually stop and say, "Let's slow down. Let's actually do that," instead of getting triggered?
Yeah. It's great.
That kind of is like an analytical mind, somebody who's actually gonna say, "Let's slow this down a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's actually ask some questions. Let's why is that true? Is that a belief or is that a truth?
Yeah. I
Like, are
love it.
you like you're never gonna amount to anything. Well, is that a truth or is that a belief?
Yeah.
Like why do you have that?
Where
Like
did
what
that start? What age did you first hear that? Where did you first hear that story that isn't true? It's a scary thing when your brain tells you some lies that you can't trust, your own brain to give you the truth because that's a hard thing to realize is like sometimes my head thinks it's protecting me. And in order to protect me, it creates these lies that like you're not going to be good at this, so don't even do it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always the problem, that people are caught up in their own lives, their
Yeah.
own kinda like they created this whole, artifice that you could, like, just tear it down. It's all crap,
One of
you
the things I like to say in my class, almost every class, is like, give yourself permission to suck, right? You don't have to be good at doing this breath work. I was terrible when I started. I still had a big transformational experience and I couldn't breathe into my belly because I was a personal trainer and I've been keeping my abs tight for 20 years and I couldn't breathe into my belly. And you got to give yourself permission to suck when you do things that you've never done before. Stop
Mhm.
being a perfectionist. Stop thinking if I'm not good at this right out of the gate, then I
It's
can't do
not
it
it.
and it's
Yeah.
it's a waste of time. No, give yourself permission to suck at these things and then see where it goes. Like let yourself be terrible and just go, I'm brand new to this. Of course I'm going to be terrible. And let's just do it. Let's do it through the terribleness.
It's kinda like when you're a kid, you're very young, you're learning how to ride that bike, you don't care if you see people you're falling off the bike and you're scuffing your knee and you're getting messed up. But the older you get, the harder it is that if you didn't know how to ride that bike, you never learn because you're scared what everybody's gonna think
Yeah.
if you keep on falling off of it. When you're like 8, 9 years old and you're falling off, you don't care. It's like, I don't care.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. You have
You know?
to regain that childhood enthusiasm of not giving a shit.
Yeah. That's a hard thing for some folks to do. And it's like everybody has that level when you have to push yourself
Yeah.
and to get out of your comfort zone. I mean, artists, we do it all the time, and we risk losing our audience
Yeah.
because we could stay doing the song that did it, right? And artists run into us all the time. Everybody has that like, oh, Hotel California thing, right? Like, yeah, that's always going to be the thing. But if you could do the long run, maybe that's not the thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like that. Maybe that didn't work.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, but you need to grow in creatively and somewhere in the process. I mean, I've been doing the same class for quite a long time and I've honed it and I've made it this perfect thing. But it's kind of like a play at this point where it's like, sometimes people laugh at these moments and sometimes they don't in my presentation, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes people crack open when I say this and they do that and they do that. And it's like, but for me, it's different every time, even though it's literally the same class, same presentation. I'm having a different experience. The people in the room are having a different experience. And so I'm sure it felt that way for the Eagles when they were playing Hotel California.
Oh yeah. I mean, it became a thing. That
Yeah.
became like their biggest thing, and then they're like locked into it. But yeah, we always like. the hour goes by quicker than we ever imagined, and we're like there. But I wanted to point out that the QR code that's up there is actually your website. So if
Great.
people scan that, they can go there. But if people go to your website, what do they find there?
Well, they'll find all my stuff. So I do live classes on Zoom on Sunday mornings, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. If you can't make the live Zoom time, there's a 5-day replay afterwards, which is great because, I have people that come from all over the world to do my class. And so sometimes the time change doesn't work out for them. So they sign up and do the class, and then they do the replay. They don't do the live class, which is awesome.
Okay, that's cool.
So I have a 5-day replay, and that's kind of the first way into my world. There's a you can put your email in and get a $10 off code. So the first class is only $19, and that's the first way in. So I'm always like, just before you do my training or before you sign up for my course, like come do a class with me and just experience this thing. Have an open mind, be willing to like do some breath work and get a little uncomfortable and see what's on the other side of it. Try something different. If you want something different, do something different.
Yeah, I think that's a cool way to end it today, because that's my motto. Because I'm an experimental musician, so I'm always trying something different.
Great.
but
I love it.
thank you for being here on a Saturday afternoon. And I want to let you know, like we've been live on LinkedIn and YouTube. It will be on all the other major platforms that you can get your podcast. We'll get a landing page to you. And I hope you have a good rest of your weekend.
You too, Phantom. Thanks for having me. I've had an excellent time on your podcast today.
Thank you.